Welcome to the Athletics Up North podcast, where we talk track and field your questions. I'm your host, Tori West. Let's get this show started.
It's a monster throw, ladies and gentlemen. Jared Bannister
Away, Freeman out well. A magnificent performance. What a legend. What a champion.
We're on.
We're in. Perfect. We're starting. Oh, wait, let me just double check this. Okay, yeah, it's going. Sweet as. All right. Well, first off, thanks for doing this interview. This is a new idea we have with A&Q. So it's just a podcast where we talk athletics, and then we have a guest speaker, which is yourself, and we ask questions.
Lucky me.
So you're in the hot seat today. Yeah. So how are you? First of all, I guess we should start with, like, obviously coronavirus has stuffed everything up the season. Like, how's it all going for you?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I mean, I can't really complain. You know, there's a lot of people in worse off situations than I am, definitely. So, I'm not going to sit here and moan about what's going on with me. But obviously, from an athlete perspective, I mean, you're in the same boat. A lot of uncertainty, a lot of plans changed, a lot of lifestyle changes as well. Because I was saying to you earlier, tracks have closed, gyms have closed, so you can't even train as you'd want to in an off-season kind of situation at the moment. So, moving forward from that is, just a completely different lifestyle setup, I guess. Yeah.
And have you found it, I know I've found it really difficult because, the news changes each day. First of all, it was you can't travel internationally. I was like, okay, well, Europe is cancelled. And obviously you would have been going overseas as well. But then all of a sudden it was no more than 10 people in a group. And now it's no more than two out at one time. Yeah. So how are you juggling that and training while that's the case?
I mean, that's a huge part of it. I mean, we all exist in training squads and training groups, and, no one wants to train by themselves. It kind of sucks and gets boring. So, to have that support network is important, not just as an athlete, but right now it's important, traversing through what's going on at the moment. So for that to be taken away and minimized, down to 10 and then down to 2, throws a spanner in the works. And I've got 2 main training partners and then obviously a coach. That's 4 people. And it makes it difficult. And, like I said, they've closed down official training facilities, and I think they're moving towards, closing down the open areas like parks and stuff. So it's getting more limited and more limited as we wake up each day and turn the news on.
Yeah. And I think that's the whole intention. I think from the start, there was a lockout maybe planned. This is just me theorizing, making a theory, but I reckon they wanted a complete lockout, which is fair enough, control the spread, but they had to do it gradually. But I just don't know how much more of a lockout it can be.
Well, yeah. See, obviously New Zealand is our little brother. And they've done it completely different to what we've done it. They've got significantly less amount of cases than we do, but they're in complete lockdown, and they're going to be in complete lockdown for 4 weeks. And that they took that step straight away. They skipped all the middle stuff and just went straight into, the big one, locking everything down. And I think obviously Australia has a much bigger economy than New Zealand does. And, obviously it takes, the scale of things is different, and that changes decisions. But my opinion is that they're trying to incrementally lock us down to both keep the economy moving slightly currently, and to also ease people into what a lockdown is. I mean, there's a lot of rebellious people in our community that don't like to necessarily be forced to not see their friends, and you see it, you still see it, people being, not being sensible and are the reason why this thing is spreading. So I think they still will be potentially moving into that kind of lockdown procedure, but we'll see what comes the next couple of days.
Yeah. Admittedly, at first, I did not take it all seriously at all. I was like, this is just a media manic. But then when you have government enforcing and tracks close and gyms close, it becomes so much more real, which is crazy. But given that it's essentially going to be 4 weeks out, I reckon. Yeah, that's what they're saying. 28 days, at least until the end of April, I believe. Yeah, and then athletics competitions are closed until the end of May. So basically we've got an 8-week block to train and somewhat train. Yeah. like, how are you approaching that period? Like, are you seeing it as an opportunity to like build a base in alternate ways, or are you looking to build other things in your life outside of athletics, like study or work, or just put some foundations in place?
That's an interesting question. I think, especially from last year, I came from a different sort of circumstance to a lot of athletes currently. I came from a major injury and worked a massive off season last year to come into this season and obviously try and make the Olympics. I had a shortened window basically because I went from a really bad hamstring tear to then having to make an Olympics 12 months later. And that's, you have to juggle things and make things work. And, like I, from the get-go, thought that the Olympics were going to get postponed. I didn't see, the IOC were trying to push it to keep it staying in 2020, but that was never going to be the case. And, I said that to the coach, and that mindset change really obviously affects motivation levels. It affects how you're training, what you can do. And like I said before, with the facilities being closed, it changes everything with what we can actually do. So, best case scenario, there's Europe and overseas still this year, but the way this is progressing, you've seen what they're saying in the UK, that this could be going on to at least June and still have some repercussions later on in the year. We haven't reached those levels in Australia yet. I don't know when the travel ban will be lifted. All those factors come to play, and we still exist in a very uncertain time when it comes to the state of affairs for sport at the moment. So training wise, we're just keeping fit. I mean, we're keeping a base. I know that I came back from nothing, having a massive injury, and built up to what I was able to this year, which was my second fastest ever time. That's reassuring to know that even now, I'm leaps and bounds ahead of that. I'm fit. I know I'm fast this year, and I'm still fast right now. So if I just go back into a strength base, fitness, I can, get back in 2 to 3 weeks. Flexibility, I just maintain that, stay healthy, and just, work on things that may have been deficient and get my mindset back. And that's really what's going to be the difference going into Tokyo 2021, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And it's good to hear like you have a very positive outlook on it. But I probably should have done this at the start. Some of our audience, I don't know if everyone, I think most people will know who you are, but I think you should give like an introduction of who you are and what you do, like, what your goals are. Just like, if someone, you randomly met someone in public and they didn't know who you were, how do you explain that? So yeah, go ahead.
I try not to get too far into the athletics conversation with randoms in public because it's
what about when people see your picture in the newspaper in the Townsville Bulletin? How does that conversation go?
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm Jake Doran. I don't know if it's in the description or whatnot or however this is going out, but
we'll probably put that in there. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm the inaugural guest. I'm a track and field athlete. I specialize in the 100-meter sprint. Dabble a bit in the 200 here and there. I'm based up in Townsville, North Queensland. So I'm one of the few athletes up here that love doing the sport, and it's really good to see the sport grow up here. With that growth, we had the Oceania Champs last year, and that was a good stepping stone for me. I've made junior teams. I've made a senior team now. I was tracking towards the Olympics this year, and then obviously now next year. I've got a PB of 10.15, which is the current area junior record, I think. So that's one of my feats, I guess.
Pretty significant, actually. Yeah, that was a pretty big deal. I think all of North Queensland went on fire when that happened. They're like, oh my god! And now you're like the poster boy. Just so you know, you are the poster boy. You and Nash, it's close.
Well,
but
hey, you're up there as well. We shared a dais last year. Athletics North Queensland Athletes of the Year, Tori and I.
Yeah.
And it goes to show. I think yourself, Nash, and I really show the diversity of talent up here, and we've all shown that it can be done from North Queensland. And it's not just a haven for sprinters. It's not just a haven for multis. It's not a haven for throws. There's athletes that come from all events and all disciplines that are able to make it into senior teams and be some of the best in the country, if not the world, in their chosen discipline. And I think that's really special for our region. Yeah,
it is. I mean, I I feel like I'm a bit on the fence because I am based in Brisbane now, but I am from North Queensland. I lived my whole life from Townsville. And to be honest, like in my heart, I wanted to go all the way based in Townsville with my coaches there. Cause my coaches are amazing, Gary and Sue and even Carly.
Yeah, yeah.
But I knew in my heart, like I had to make the change to get myself like around people who are better than me, that push me, and like also increase competition. So yes, I do consider myself a product of the North, but at the moment I'm temporarily,
Well, you are. I mean, and for me, I don't see myself spending my entire career up here. It's impossible to do so. Right now, I'm obviously a developing athlete. If you look anywhere else in the world, they have developing up into under 23s, and I'm only 19 still. So I'm very much in that development phase. And with my coach, Paul DeBella, I really personally don't think there's a better sprints coach in the country. And, in saying that, if there was, I'd probably be there right now. So you go into Eric. Eric's a world-class coach, and he's got a world-class group with him. And, athletes in Australia are really lucky in the sense that we are such welcoming people, and you can just switch it up, go to a new coach, and you're welcome straight away. Everyone wants everyone to get better, and and we all benefit from that. And I think for me personally, the benefits for up here have obviously been my coach Paul and his wealth of knowledge, and the environment. I think the heat, the weather, everything up here is perfect for training. I like to say it's my cheat code because it's like bootleg altitude training, but
no, it's true. I agree. When I did my training season in 2017 leading up to Com Games trials, I just felt like I had the edge because we were like training in insane humidity, like it was terrible conditions, but we obviously if you train there you push through. So I felt like it gives you the edge. Hugely. Yeah. So you would agree, like this is my personal opinion, I think if Athletics Australia had any sense, they would send most high performance athletes to North Queensland to do their base camps because like during the middle of the year, which is when most of us want to go to Europe and compete, the conditions up there are perfect. Like, would you agree right now in Townsville, like it's beautiful weather to train? Like,
I've always got tailwind on the home straight. So
there you go.
Moreover from that, I think most sports should look at Townsville, Cairns as havens for training conditions. We've seen quite a few different sports teams come up here. I've done sessions with, Wellington Phoenix before up here, and it's down to the weather. And I was big to push for that high performance center that they're attaching to the new stadium.
That'd be so cool. Are you getting access to that?
Yeah. So
awesome.
It's been a long process. I mean, it's still not built. They've had the first game. They've had Elton there. With the current economic climate, I really hope it still goes ahead. I assume it will because they've got contracts in place, and then they need to, really boost the economy up here again and inject some jobs into Townsville. But it's going to be a freaky place to be. High performance center, everything on base, physio, your hot cold baths, everything there, ready and raring to go. So when that goes ahead, it's just a center for high performance, and we can have the top athletes in track and field in Australia. We can have the top athletes in footy, soccer, whatever, come to Townsville, embrace the heat, get what they want out of it, and just reinvigorate sport in Australia and produce the athletes we're used to producing, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I think North Queensland, like, I know obviously we're biased being North Queenslanders, but like most people who go, like most athletes from around Australia who compete at AUS Champs, who compete at, they all comment how great like the facility is. It's a relaxed environment. Townsville's coastal region, like you're like a 5-minute walk from the Strand. Even in Cairns, you're close to the bay. And now we have a track in Mackay. Like that's amazing. Like it's for regional Australia, it's incredible.
Yeah, so you can choose where you want to go. I mean, we've still got better facilities here than some of the Pacific nations, and that might be a barb to some of the countries when they want to host things. But it is true. I mean, as high performance athletes, we want the best facilities, and the facilities is the actual environment and the temperature, the wind, all those things come into consideration. And like you said, in the winter, there's no other place in Australia where you can host anything but up here. I think Townsville's track, especially in the winter, is the prettiest track in Australia, and it's definitely one of the prettiest tracks I've run in around the world.
Yeah, that classic Castle Hill shot in the back. Did you notice, like, at Oceania Champs, like, you know, everyone puts content out on like social media, and the classic shot was like posing in front of the hill. Like, we take it for granted, but everyone's like, whoa.
There's me dying on the track, you know, every day looking up at that bloody hill. But you could literally swap out every single Australian athlete currently, I reckon, and they've all posted that photo on their Instagram.
Especially after Oceania. I remember seeing that because I was working a bit with the media behind the scenes before the event. And like, just watching that, I was like, yeah, that is an iconic shot there. It is an iconic track for that.
Oh, honestly, wait, where else in Australia do you have a track with such like an iconic landmark to look at while you're standing on the track? I mean, Perth has a really nice sunset in the afternoon. I mean, it's a pretty track to be on, but I don't know many other main tracks where you can, you know, just embrace and look at something pretty while you're doing what you have to do, and that's perform.
Yeah. God, you're pretty lucky, to train there every day. Well, not at the moment, but in general.
But
like
I have to go pick up my equipment there today because they've just like QSAC, just like everywhere, they've locked us out till June, and it's like I miss her already. I have to do my running on uneven grass, and I hate it. I'm not a pro runner.
Bummer. Well, for me personally, like I trained at UQ, and they've locked all that out, obviously. Yeah. But when I was based in Townsville, I used to train at Pimlico State High School on a grass track, and it wasn't like a flash track. So, but I was used to that. So now, and like we had a bit of tartan, and then we had the basic gear we needed. Like, it was a good facility for what we needed. But now that we can't access like tartan tracks, we're going to this grass track, and I have to use some equipment that I have, and it just feels like I'm back in Townsville again. You know, going back to my roots. Yeah, and
you have to. It's good base to come. I mean, I played a lot of footy growing up, and so in like cleats, I'm used to running around on fields and stepping around and doing stupid stuff like that. But in spikes and in flats, it's hard to run in. I personally haven't really done much track work on grass. I've always been on track because
run bare feet. Honestly, do it. I do it. It like builds your feet muscles. I think anyway.
True.
But
I've read a lot about, you know, those shoes that like you put your toes into, and they're like separate toe shoes. A lot of the a lot of the ultra runners that do like not just marathons, but like the super duper hard over creeks and stuff run in those types of shoes because you can grip things more, and their feet muscles just become insane. Like they do have biceps between the toes. So maybe that's the secret.
Maybe. Okay, so interesting fact. I'm going to bring this into the podcast. I think this is interesting. In 2018, I was pretty injured. I had like a back bulge and a plantar fasciitis in my foot. And then I participated in this foot study at UQ to help fix plantar fasciitis. And I had to do all these exercises for 12 weeks. Anyways, it really helped. I haven't had plantar fasciitis since, but she did send me a link to a foot study which said there was a correlation between this one muscle on the side of your foot. I think it's called let me Google it. I think it's the hella. I gotta be precise if I'm gonna put this out in public. Helica's
you might have some expert on feet. You're like
I don't want to I'm not a doctor, but I'm just giving you people like personal experience.
Or there'll be some kid with plantar fasciitis that's like, Tori said this.
No, don't go seek proper help. But this is my story. She said that study said the abductor hallucis muscle, so it's like on the side of your foot, there's a correlation between that, the strength of that, and speed, as in ability to sprint. So maybe this next 8 weeks you're going to build those muscles in your feet, and then you're going to drop a 9.9.
And
key champs.
Can you imagine?
Oh, dude, that would be amazing.
That'd be freaky. I would hang up the spikes and just be like, well, I've done it. I've run 9.9 in Townsville or in Queensland.
Do you have like an end goal in your head, like with athletics? Like there's a point where you'll just stop, or you just want to keep going to see how good you can be?
It depends. I mean, it's whether you look at it as like a hobby that you want to challenge yourself at, or if it's a career. Like if it's your job, just to get money, you know, like that's the end goal. You need to earn a living, and that's how you earn your living. And that's definitely part of it. It's a awesome sport for platforming when it comes to opportunities for life. You know, you open doors, and it sets you up basically to do a lot of different things. But I'm not sure if I have any end. Obviously, we all have goals. We have micro goals. We have macro goals. We want to, you know, keep improving. But I don't think there's a goal that I want to achieve where I'll achieve it and then hang up the spikes. Because if you have that goal and you don't achieve it, then you feel empty for the rest of your life, basically, in regards to your career. And unfortunately, with sprinting, you're never quite happy with your run. Like I said to coach before, like I'll PB and I'll be like, oh, I could have run faster. I think even if I did run 9.9, I'll still look back at the race and go, oh, well, I could have run faster here. I could have done this, could have done that. So performance goals are always hard to go off. And you really like, I'd rather run a good race and run a slow time than like a good time and a shit race. Cause you know, we work hard to make sure that this is, you know, we train hard to be able to perform at our best. But you know, Olympics, sub 10, the usual, they're the two that go hand in hand.
Yeah, of course. And so that's interesting. So would you consider a successful race not the time, but the execution? Which is, I bring it up, it's a good thing because for younger athletes, a lot are so focused on end goals. Like, this is the time I want. I know me personally, I've been in that trap. Like, it sounds like you've nailed that, you know, aspect of it.
And that's come from experience, you know, relatively short experience because I haven't been around the bush that many times, but I've torn my hammy focusing on the time before. You know, we all have KPIs, we have goals and times that we have to achieve, lengths, whatever event you're doing, heights, that we have to achieve to get into teams. That's the nature of the sport, but you're never going to get those times, those heights, those lengths without a good performance at the end of the day. So I've run a, you know, cracker of a race, and to try and secure the time, I've, you know, dipped wrong. I've, you know, dove for the line and torn my hamstring, and that was me for 4 months, and you know, ruined my first Australia team. I still made the team, but didn't perform as well. So, you know, from experience, you learn to make sure that you're definitely aiming for performance, and it's the same in training. You aim to do things right every time. So every movement you're doing is to make sure you're getting better. And with a track day, like, you could run a bad race or run a bad time and have a good race if you execute well. If you run at 90% and have a good technique, then you're setting yourself up for more than if you run 100% and it's all out the back and it's not going well for you because you're not setting anything up for the future. And that's part of the sport, especially for the younger ones, is getting better each and every year.
Yeah. And did it take you long for that to click? Like, I know, I would assume when you first started, you would have been like gun ho, I'm just going to sprint fast. Like how long did it take?
Every single person has run 100 meters in their life. We all do it at school, you know, everyone. And and the competitive ones are all, they pin their ears back and they go for it. They grit their teeth, they get the neck tensed up, and it's, you know, they're trying to beat their mates. And definitely that was me always. It probably still is sometimes when I line up with Mr. Jack Hale and Mr. Rowan Browning. But, you know, that happens. That's part of the competitive nature of sport. And you need that grit to make it in elite sport. You need it to be competitive. But it took a while to really understand how to get better, because you want things now, especially when you're younger. You always want things now. And for me, my best runs, my best times, everything I've achieved have come when I least expected it. My best example of that is my 10:15. I broke my back 9 months earlier against one of your training partners because he pushed me in the 100.
Oh, yeah. And, I heard about that.
He pit me by 0.01 or 0.001 or something crazy.
I can understand why you dipped. Like, you don't want to let a decathlete beat you if you're a specialist. Like, just saying. But, you know, you came back stronger.
He's a freak. He's PB'd every time we've raced, so I think he needs to come race me again, and I'll get his PB down a bit faster. But
I'll let him know, and we'll live stream that. You know what, AQ Champs, let's do it.
Yeah,
let's
get him up. I'm waiting. But so I broke my back, and that was a terrible injury. Put me out for a long time. But came back 6 weeks or 6 to 9 weeks of training and off nothing, off being a fat 18-year-old or 17-year-old, skinny, I can't remember. But
Fat
yeah,
skinny.
no training,
I think that's a thing.
skinny fat scat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I came off that and ran 10:15 because I wanted it a lot. And we worked on technique and my technical ability because I didn't have the strength or the speed base to do anything with a broken back. So that was a real big learning curve for me, that it was about, learning the fundamentals of movement and sprinting in order to get better in the future. And, I definitely think there's faster times to come for me.
It's exciting. And that experience going through that where you literally didn't have the confidence from training or like I find my perception of the sprints is that it's a lot to do with confidence. It's a lot to do with what you do in those lead up meets. And then you get hype around you and you get to the start line and people in their head have already decided who won. And then you as the athlete need to block all that out and say, nah, what matters happens in this race, right? Knowing that you could execute that 10:15 given the prep, like, does that make you excited about the extra time we have for 2021 Olympics, knowing you could just pop something amazing in the next 12 months?
That's exactly what it makes me excited for. I don't think I'm learning not to get as hyped to one race, national final, or, XYZ, because that's when you let yourself down, I think, the most. And it's when you least expect it is when it pops out. And I think I had a lot of issues with performance anxiety. Not so much performance anxiety, but I'll psych myself out. I had exceptional training sessions leading into this season, like freaky good start sessions. I was moving, and then but I train it with a lot. All my athletes that I train with are younger than me or aren't as fast as me because it's not as big of a pool up here. So I'm used to running, past people all the time. So as soon as I started lining up against the big boys again,
blitzing people.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And that psychological thing, as soon as I lined up next to the Jack Hales and the Rowan Brownings and they were beside me, I tensed up, and that psychological thing through my races for a lot of the year. And I came out in Perth and ran fast because I was like, stuff that's stupid. But, it threw me, especially I was nervous coming back from a hammy, and the mental side of things, like you said, is huge in sprinting. Like I said, I was fast in training, but on the day, I threw out the window a couple of times because it comes down to that 10-second window, and it's like, oh, do or die.
Yeah. And do you do a lot of visualization for your event?
Yeah. So I try and be really realistic with what we can do. The mental side of sport is huge. It's as big as the physical side. And visualization is a big one. You want to perceive yourself running the race, breaking down the segments and how you want your body to move. Because realistically, your brain's what makes your body function and creates the movements of your muscles and your limbs. And that's the sprinting motion. So, yeah, I do visualization to see how I want the run to work out, where I want to place. I even visualize what time I want to come up or what I want to achieve, what I want to do. And that's all well and good. But again, you have to be realistic. You don't want to hope too much. You got to be, true to yourself and understand where you sit. Because if you're hoping the whole time, then you haven't put in the work to achieve the goal. You're right. Hoping that that's something you can't do. And so you're hoping the stars align.
Yeah, that's actually a very powerful statement. You don't hope is a good thing, but you don't want to put everything into hope. You got to back it up.
Exactly.
With,
hope.
I think hope is the trigger. I think it's what gets you to start the action, but then you just got to work at it. Build the bank.
And I think there's a difference between hope and confidence, and I think you need a mixture of both. You have to be able to rely on your ability, and then hope that your ability opens doors for you, and you execute on the day and do something special.
That's really good. That's actually, I've never heard that put that way. There you go. That's the value in the podcast. If you're listening, there you go. Take that away. There's a difference between hope and confidence. That's a good one. Wow. Well, the second part of the podcast, right? So we've got to know you. We've had a good chat, which has been good, actually. It's been pretty cash. I told you I wanted to go Joe Rogan style, so a very casual conversation, and see what happens.
The same road is the best. Yes.
And I think we've achieved that somewhat. So
that's
I have
got to be one of the worst
now.
parts of this virus is Joe Rogan might not get his guests on as much.
You have to do what we're doing, which is
I
the
know,
video
on Zoom.
chat thing. I would love to do. Eventually this will be like in studio stuff. We do have access to a studio, but
Yeah, cool.
it's just not feasible at the moment. Okay, so I have questions because this podcast is called Talking Track and Fielding Questions. As cheesy as that sounds, we thought of that. I thought it goes well, so let's do it. What's your favorite color? Boring one. This is a question.
Well, shall we go in depth with this one? I like it.
We're going deep. We're going deep. Let's go.
I like it.
What's your favorite
Deep
color?
like a deep blue. I love a blue. I'm a bit basic with that.
Is blue? Is it also blue because blue is the color of the first place ribbon?
Sure.
Let's go with that. Yeah.
No, gold's my favorite color.
Gold. Oh yeah, actually, yeah, it's a nice color. Oh, is it a color? No, it's not a color. It's a no, it's not like, well, it's a describing word, but color, gold is a material. It's a element. There you go.
Yeah, but is it not? I don't know. It's yellow. I don't know. I think gold would be a color. It's kind of like oranges and all. Anyway, we're getting too in depth.
I'm taking your answer as blue/gold.
Okay. Because of
that's
first
your
place.
answer. Correct. Okay, let's just say athletics is back online at the end of June and competitions start opening up again. When will be your next competition?
When will be my next competition? That's a hard one to answer right now, obviously, with everything that's going on. It'll either be in Australia, in the northern half of Australia, if Brisbane Track Classic / Nationals gets put up here, but we've seen Nationals has been, pretty much cancelled, and same with Brisbane Track Classic. So if it all came back online and they reorganise those events for Northern Australia, then up here because of points. If not, it'd be a lead-in meet. I'm sure I'd do one in Townsville just to shake out the legs, but it'd be in Europe. I'd say a big one would be in Europe.
I'm just going to pull you up now. That's a wrong answer. Your first competition will be NQ Championships at the end of September in North Queensland.
Of course.
And
That'd be my cobwebs blowout, I'm sure.
Fingers crossed some competition managers or organisers or people, decision makers will listen to this and be like, yep, Jake's going to be competing. Let's make sure there's points there. There you go. Cooling it out.
I will be there. Look.
Make
I
it
love
a GL.
the NQ games. Oh, yeah, let's do it. Give me that
Let's
GL
go
meet.
GL.
I'll run.
Yep.
I'll run close to my PB. If not faster, if it's a GL meet in Townsville.
Yeah, GL. For listeners, if you don't know what GL means, so essentially there's a new world ranking system, and to qualify for the Olympics, athletes need to get a ranking score, and the ranking score is an average of 5 performances for individual events, and you get bonus points for important meets. So a GL is like basically one of the top 3 meets, so you get a lot of bonus points. It's the time to perform, essentially. It's complicated. Just visit the World Athletics website if you really want to know how it works. But moving on to the next question. Oh, okay, this is a good one. What do you eat in the morning before you compete? Like, do you have a routine?
In the morning before I compete is interesting. Generally, I have a very boring diet. Like, it's very same every day, because that's, you have to be regimented in every part of life to be elite. But before I compete is an interesting one, because it depends in the morning, because it depends on what time of the day is the race. Because if it's late in the day, then it'll be a bigger lunch than breakfast. If it's earlier, then it'll be a bigger breakfast. But I'm a big egg and avocado and toast fan. I think that's
good choice.
You got your fats, your good fats, mind you, and your carbs, energy, boom. Game changers would argue against a lot of that, but my advice to everybody is eggs and avocado and toast. It goes breakfast, lunch, maybe a dinner if you're lazy. It's very good for energy. So
what about bacon?
So, I'm not a big bacon
too much
person.
Fat. I feel like that would finish off that meal a lot, like really well.
It'd be
bacon,
lovely.
Eggs.
Make it tasty. Hollandaise sauce.
Yeah.
But, no, I think bacon. What's my meat go to? I have a lot of yogurts, like high protein yogurts, to get my protein up.
Are you one of those
And
athletes that are like endorsed by like YoPro or like
no,
all those
I'm surprised.
A shout
YoPro
out!
and
You should get
Sport
one. You
Fun.
totally should
Yeah,
after this.
well,
Yeah.
it's because I do eat a lot of it. But yeah, I do quite well when it comes to different sponsors and stuff, and I like working with companies. But no yogurt companies have
You should
shown
hit them
their
up. I
interest.
feel like you've got an opportunity. Like you just highlighted an
Like,
opportunity.
hello, YoPro. But no.
Yeah.
Yogurt is very good for enzymes in your gut, and gut health is a very underrated source of a very underrated piece of the jigsaw puzzle. So that's my tidbit. Yeah.
Big time. I think that's a whole nother rabbit hole, the gut health stuff.
Oh.
Actually, it'd be interesting to get a gut health or expert in that field to do with high performance, because I think it's a thing overlooked by a lot of athletes, because we sort of have given even like high performance, like like dietitians give like a sort of stock and standard meal plan, but it's not necessarily best.
Nutrition is different to, and diet is different to gut health. Obviously your macros, your proteins, carbs and fats is completely different to what the enzymes are doing in your gut. And that's it has nothing to do with each other. Like you need to supplement and fuel your body for sport, and that's your nutrition and your diet, but also your catalyzation of foods and the way your body deals with those macros is your gut health, and it affects your mood. It affects everything. Gut health is a huge one.
Okay, I'm going to find one more question. Your favorite person to compete against in the 100-meter sprint?
Oh, that's on the big screen.
And if they are your favorite, why are they your favorite?
Have I had to have competed against them already? I think that's part of the question, right? Like I've already I like competing against them.
Yes, it's like what? Okay, so just say the national 100-meter final is next weekend. Who's the person you're most excited to see in that race? Yeah.
Well, all of them I want to roll. That's the thing. They're always going to be in the rearview mirror. So
yeah, for sure.
I think it's hard. That's a hard one, because I'll stay within our little bubble of track and field. I've competed.
Okay, let's do Australia, New Zealand. New Zealand.
Oh well, that makes it easy. I think. I think my favourite bloke around Australia to compete against is Mr. Jack Hale. I enjoy rolling him when I do. He's got. Is
that because he broke his record?
No, that's saucy.
Well, it is. You did. I wasn't sure if that was. I did. It's a legitimate question.
I didn't race him when I beat it. And to be fair, mad respect. I mean, I looked up to Jack coming up before I was like good at the sport. To be honest, I didn't think his record was going to be beaten for a long time, and I'm lucky enough to have been able to beat it. But yeah, I love racing as Jack. We get along well outside of the track, and when we get into the blocks, it's competitive, and I think there is that history. I took a record off him. I'm younger than him. And I rolled him at Oceania, so but he's gotten the upper hand on me a couple of times, and we did our first international season together. We're both in the relay team. We have good banner, and he's exceptionally talented and has a lot to prove, and I think moving forward it's going to be a good head-to-head against him for a long time. And from New Zealand it would have to be Mr. Eddie Oceania. We are both, we've both come up through the juniors. He's been around the whole time I've been around. We've had some really good head-to-heads. I've got a PB over him. He beat me both at Nationals and Oceania last year, both in the last 5 meters of the race or something crazy. So, which is really hard to sort of, but he's a man mountain. The dude's a machine. Love competing against him. Heart of gold. So it'd be Mr. Hale and Mr. Oceania. Oh, fun fact, Eddie's dad trained alongside my coach Paul.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
See, the degrees of separation in athletics is like
very small.
2. They say there's a general rule of 5 degrees of separation, but in athletics I think it's 2.
I think that's why we're an awesome family in some aspects, because you show some talent and you get taken under a lot of people's wings, and you get shown the ropes really quickly, and people know who you are very quickly if you show what you're made of, and that's a good part about our sport. You can any way you turn, you've got somewhere to talk to, and me and Tori are great for that. If you've got any questions, just sling us a DM and we will point you in the right direction, or what we think is the right direction, because it might.
It's going to be obviously personal response, but like I think I wouldn't be where I am without, you know, the guidance from like other athletes. Actually, for me, it's more so being coaches, you know, you know, and senior people in the sport that have guided me. But
I think you've had a very interesting rise up in the sport. You know, you've always been there since I've been around, and you've definitely had like a meteoric rise recently. Like you've gone from strength to strength. I think that's incredible, really. I mean, you said you were going to do something and you did it.
I did, didn't I? But there's still more there. I wasn't happy with nationals, to be honest. I was not happy. I was satisfied with a PB. Yeah, exactly. But
that's us.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you have this deep belief. It's just, I know something amazing is coming. Well, I just know it. I'm putting in the work.
It's different. I think it's different between belief and understanding. Like, you know what your outputs are, and you know your outputs more than your coach, more than your training partners. And it can be quantitative with weights you lift in the gym and times you put on the track, but it also can be the quality you get out of the session, how you feel at the end of the session, how you're backing up, and how, you know, it's two sides of that coin. And I think you can kid yourself and say you're going to be the next big thing, and lie to yourself if you haven't put in the work. But when you know deep down that, you know, you're actually not half bad, and that's when you're kind of like, okay, cool, let's keep grinding at this grindstone and let's produce something special.
Exactly. I think the quote that inspired me the most was, I think it was Jackie Joyner-Kersee, world record holder for the heptathlon. Very cool, typical for a heptathlete to look up to that. But she had a really straightforward quote, and it was right input, right output. So what I think the secret to success for me has been measuring success, or like how I define success. So it's not necessarily times. It can be like going back to what you said, it's feeling, it's like technical execution. And because my event is so numbers heavy, I've really had to work hard to divert my focus to other markers of success, because you're not always going to hit PBs and times and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's the main reason and I put in the work. Like, I'm confident because I put in the work. Like, I'm a pretty I wouldn't say, you can't, humble people don't say they're humble, but in general, I don't like even for this podcast, I'm not going out saying this is who I am. I'm an Australian heptathlete champion. Yeah, exactly. Because at the end of the day, I know
people need to know.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, well, I'm an Australian champion. Woohoo! But I guess that doesn't really matter to me. I just love improving. Like, I love the process of it. Yeah.
I think, and that you touched on it just then, like your recent rise in PBs, in success, in not just, you know, on performance day, or, you know, away from the track, you've put in the work. And unfortunately for a lot of people, it comes down to putting in the work. You have to work hard.
Yeah.
You have to not just work hard, but work smart. I think that's a big one. You have to, the work you put in has to be put in well and thought out where it's going. And that's how you get the results.
Yeah. Would you say Conor McGregor is a big inspiration for you?
How did you know?
He's mine. Know? Because he said the same thing. You know, you put in the work, you know, confidence comes from working. There's no secret. You just put in the work.
Yeah, well, I'm half Irish, so I'm naturally going to look up to Mr. McGregor. Yeah. I love fight sports. You know, when Conor beat Cerrone this year,
that was incredible.
I got goosebumps.
That was incredible.
I remember I said to coach, right before so Paul and I went to watch the sport, watch the event together, because he loves the UFC as much as I do. And I said to him right before the fight, I'm like, how this goes is how my campaigns are going to go leading, like, in the future. And I put a lot on that. I was like, you know, you kind of project what you want, and 40 seconds, boom, annihilate him. I was like, damn, man. And yeah, what a hero. I mean, obviously very, very, you know, he's done some dumb things that we all do. And, but yeah, he's really good to look at when it comes to seriously getting inspired by work and what you need to do. And there's no shortcuts, and there's no magic. There's no, you know,
there isn't. There literally isn't. Like, if you're doing, like, generally for the most part, I know in my heart, like, if I'm not doing well, it's because I'm not doing the right work. Like, and it's good for athletes. Like athletics in particular is a sport. I think in team sports you can hide. You can have those lucky things, but in athletics, it's a sport that will expose you very quickly. If you're all talk, you will be exposed.
Yeah, and I think longevity is a big part of that. I think one of my proudest moments, and I think I said one of my proudest things is how well I was able to come back from a hamstring tear from last year. I think David Colbert in another podcast said,
listen to their podcast, not all the episodes, but he's a great speaker.
I don't think they're on anymore, but they're awesome, Townsville and David. But he said I tore my hamstring in like 17 million places or something, and to come back from that was really cool. And like for me, the biggest thing that's happened and the best thing that's happened to me is when I broke my back, because I found out a lot about myself, what I'm capable of doing away from the spotlight, and that's huge. When what you do behind closed doors is huge. That's what, hours and hours and hours of work for 10 seconds. It's pretty difficult to justify, but we do it and we love it, and it's an awesome sport.
I think we've covered a lot of really good topics. I think it's been quite interesting.
We covered a lot of ground. I mean, it's pretty cool. This is the inaugural podcast. What was it? Tracking, what was it?
Talking track and fielding questions.
I think that's awesome. It's exciting to see where this goes. I mean, it's a cool medium for getting information out. We have a lot of time on our hands now.
Yeah, exactly. That's the reason I was like, I think we had the A&Q retreat, and one of the board members suggested we do a podcast, and I was like, actually, that's a great idea. Like, why not? I mean, it's pretty easy.
At least get it started, put it out, see how people feel. I hope to be back on the podcast at some stage.
Most definitely.
I think we had fun talking through, and I look forward to more questions. Once this, gets its footing, we can get some other juicy questions on the podcast.
Yeah.
Not just my favorite color.
100%. I think it'd be great in the future. Like, we can do podcasts, but we can have like more than 2 people going at once. Why not? Yeah. Leading it. Okay, let's just say A&Q Champs is a highly ranked competition, and we have a lot of the 100-meter sprint elite coming. Let's just get you all on. Let's get some banter going. Have you seen those boxing interviews where they stand face to face and they're like,
face off? I'll do that any day. But I don't know. Jack's a lot shorter than me, so face off wouldn't really work for him. He's not in my weight class.
Oh well, it was an idea, but it's flown away now.
I think we could all sit down, keep it sensible, keep it safe, and then we'll leave it all out on the track or something. And I say that, but we know big brawl in the studio.
Yeah, well, you know what? We've got to create some hype around athletics. Like, we need to create that's the reason I thought this was a great idea too. Because like at the moment, athletics, like, going on another tangent now. We've been going forever. That's okay. Long form is good. But athletics is a sport where everyone's fighting for the limelight, for that bit of attention. And the circle of light, or that stage, is very small.
At the moment it is, yep.
Yeah, but this sort of thing, like this, can start broadening that stage, I think.
Yeah, I think after the coronavirus does its thing, I think after the bit of failure that was the 2020 domestic season with no one at the events, I thought it was a bloody club meet at some of the track events. I think AA can go back, look at their budgeting, put some more money into advertisement and marketing, get the sport on the map again, because we put in a lot of work for not a whole bunch back at the moment. And maybe cut back on some of the silly stuff that we've seen in the past.
Oh my gosh, that's a whole nother episode. Oh my gosh, we should do that. I think we should the next episode we do together, we're going to be like, we'll get some other athletes in as well, but we're going to be like an athlete's perspective on how to improve the marketing of our sport. Let's do it. Let's say episode 4.
Yeah, I think that'd be. Well, I'd hope they'd tune in, because they do some silly things over there, and their efforts go a bit wayward sometimes. I love some of the people at Athletics Australia, but there's some miscommunications, and I'm putting this very diplomatically.
Yeah, I'm trying to too, because I know in all their selection policies there's a fine line that says be in good standing with Athletics Australia to meet teams. So you've got to be very wise. Yeah.
Oh, you can't. I mean, we're not going to put in anything silly, but it's not hard. No. I mean, AA do a wonderful job of keeping our sport together. But they make mistakes just as much as we do. And hopefully after all this, they have time to look back and really make it what athletics could be. I mean, when my coach was running back 20 years ago, it was doing well for itself around the Sydney Olympics. I mean, for my coach to run in front of, thousands of people at nationals and then 100,000 people at the Olympics in Sydney is dreamlike. And if we can get some interest around sport, especially it's going to be a clean slate after the coronavirus. There's not going to be as much funding specific on NRL and AFL. So athletics in the States claim we have the most athletic people in the country in our sport, and people tune in to see that. I mean, it's pretty cool to say you're the fastest guy in the country. So, and there's a couple of us that compete for that. So, come over, watch, listen to the podcasts where we talk smack about the other fast guys, and
you know what? Yeah, it's gonna be good. Well, I'm excited for the next episode we do together because this has been great. I feel like the more we talk, exactly. The more we talk, I realize there's a lot more we can talk about. And to be honest, this is interesting stuff. I think most people would agree.
Anyone can
a lot
listen.
of it.
If you're an athlete, you're probably going to agree with us. If you're at AA, you maybe you're going to hate us. Maybe you're going to learn from what our perspective is and make some changes. If you're a fan, you get some insight into the daily dealings of what we have to go through. Yeah, I think that's the good thing about the podcast form of media. You can just sit down, have a yarn, talk about anything contemporary, and go from there. So I really hope this podcast sticks around. I hope it competes with the Colberts and the Tams and Lewises of the world.
Well, we're not as politically correct, so maybe it will. Just saying,
okay.
Because they're very polished. They're very polished, and they say very generic terms. I know there's a lot to cover in national coverage of athletics.
I hear Seb Coe listens to that podcast.
Oh, really?
I think, they have to be. So we'll be like the Jekyll. We can be Jekyll and Hyde, us and that podcast. We can be bad cop. They can be good cop.
Yeah. We'll what we'll do is record this, and then we'll present it to the board and get the tick of approval, and then we'll decide if we're the Jekyll. But okay. I do want this to be something that we can speak pretty freely. And if we are going to say something about a problem in the sport, we at least offer a solution. It's one thing to complain, but it's one thing to offer a solution in a better way. Yeah. So
I mean, it's not hard to see the issues in the sport at the moment. I mean, it's not hard to see it's at a bit of a weak point. So, I really hope that both athletes, governing bodies, everyone and fans involved can really get together and make it good again. That's as much as really can be said. I mean, it's a great sport, and has a lot to change and a lot to do to get back to its heights. But when it's back there, it really gets to showcase its beauty.
And thanks again for joining us and joining me. Actually, there's someone else here, but thank you. Appreciate it.
Anyways, you too. I look forward to chatting again.
No worries. And good luck with your training. Well, supposed training in Corona season.
Again, you too.
Thank you. We'll get there. Anyways, thanks, Jake.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks so much for listening to the very first episode of Athletics Up North with Jake. We hope you enjoyed the episode, and please stay tuned because we're going to release our next guest very soon. Until next time, it'd be great if you could like, share, follow, and subscribe to our Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube pages. This will make sure that you are notified when the new episodes go live. Stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll chat soon.